A very good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. It is in the afternoon at the time of this recording. My name is Marvin Davis, host at Practical Minds Podcast. A new season is beginning, and we are glad to be here with you today. I'm joined by fellow co-hosts, that is Cynthia and Diana. I'll allow themselves to introduce themselves first so that we get to have an understanding of what this season is going to be all about. Naona mmefurahi sana, the season is new. Hata nyinyi ni wapya.
We are here in the flesh, okay. And it's a new season,
Spirit
new things, you know?
Flesh and in blood.
So yeah, I'm really excited. I can't wait to see what we have in store for you guys. We're going to have various guests coming on board. Various specialists in different fields, even as we try to see how we can be able to think practically and even make more practical and sober decisions.
Okay.
Yeah, so nice. My name is Cynthia Wanini, and I am a psychologist. I am a child psychology enthusiast, and I am really, really into the child development and teenagers, and that is my greatest pleasure, and it is such an honor to be here in the second season. The first season was a blast. Yes, we talked about so many things, matters life, matters self-awareness, matters emotional intelligence, and right now I just can't wait to see what this season has for us. And on top of that, our host we had Esther last season, but she left for greener pastures. Esther, shout out to you wherever you are.
She should show us her ways.
Yes, she should show us her ways, na tusaidia hata yeye akiomoka, najua ako mahali akiomoka hata yeye atukumbuke. But we have a replacement and her name is Diana. Ama we ni Diana B on this. You're gonna tell us.
Inataka mado ndo niko sasa na hiyo swag yote ya B, and yeah, well, like they said, my name is Diana. I go by the names Diana Kanini. I'm a psychologist, I'm a mentor, and a boy child advocate. Yeah, I love to see that the boy child's needs in the society are being catered for. Yeah, so I'm hoping we're going to have an amazing season. I'm new on board, and I hope we'll share more, learn more, and learn, live, love, and learn together.
Okay, yeah. I hope you also call yourself Diana, because you started by saying, like they say, you're Diana Kanini.
I go by the names. I have so many names.
It's a pleasure to be having you on board.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Me, I don't introduce myself using titles, because elephants in the room, washasema zao. I'm Marvin Davis. Now you're mimi. Thank you so much for listening to us. Ladies, it's been a while, and I think we need to catch up on a few conversations. Yesterday, I think we had a meeting, and I was intrigued by the fact that you are discussing a lot of things that I was kind of new. They were kind of new to me, actually. And one thing that got into my mind is that, why do you identify as a Cynthia? Because you see, you could be Cynthia from the figures that we see, but there's something that is underlying that maybe as an individual you have a better understanding of. So maybe to ask, because it's something that is going to be revolving around. There's one thing you told us about, and I want you to share with the audience. Why do you identify as yourself to begin with, maybe, so that we get to also know, because you are representing a lot of people in the room. To speak, I don't want to mention names.
Okay. So yesterday we were just having some soda somewhere.
Thank you for the soda.
In a hotel, which by the way I paid for, but anyway. So who is Cynthia? And if she's female, why is she female? Yes. I believe that's a question that you want to ask me. So I will probably say I'm Cynthia and I'm a female because of my genetic makeup. And iko na X na Y.
Okay.
Yes. And also because of my physical features that make me to be a female. Okay. And also based on those people that I am attracted to sexually. That is what makes me a female.
A female.
Yes.
Okay, let me listen to D, and then I'll share my thoughts on whatever I think I have.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's anything different from her. I identify as a woman because of my biological makeup, my physical characteristics, and also the people I'm attracted to sexually.
Okay.
Yes.
You see, there's a ground that I'm trying to bring on board so that we have a discussion around this. Because you see, the whole topic of sexuality, to speak of, is something that people don't have a better understanding of. Because as an individual, I could debate you on that. You could be identifying as a female, yet you don't know why you're identifying as a female. Yes. It is not necessarily the physical features or maybe that you're having. or maybe the genetic or biological features that you people are talking about. As an individual, honestly speaking, naweza kuambia I do identify as a male, but I don't know why. And there's a lot of people that I'm representing that are also of the same opinion. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done in with regards to, getting to, I don't want to say shed light or maybe create awareness, but bringing the information to people so that they know why they're identifying as who they are. And to speak of now what sexuality is all about, there's a different understanding. My better understanding of sexuality is that it encompasses a lot of ideas that the society holds and the individuals hold. Because you see, there's a way in which these do shape each other, right? Sexuality, in my own terms, I would say is this concept that people have that includes gender, includes their sexual orientation, includes their sexual identity, to say. And that will also bring in the concept of now how people identify. Maybe if we listen to you, what do you feel like is wrong in that definition of what sexuality is all about? Or maybe how do you identify what sexuality is all about with regards to how the community do perceive it? Yes. I chose you first because I know where you come from. There's a better understanding that I don't know.
Not really. But what can I say? From the scientific narrative of characteristics of a male or a female, you read through and I feel I fall under the category of a female because of the biological narrative, the physical looks, and the characteristics I have physically, and also emotionally, because emotionally we tend to say women are emotional beings, and I fall into that category. I may question why is it that I identify as a woman? Why can't I identify myself in another way? Because that's the narrative I found. And if I begin to question that, I might find myself beginning to identify with something very different. There are people who identify as animals, not just female or male.
I like how Cynthia is nodding.
I'm just shocked
Why?
at the magnitude of knowledge that is in this house, but it's okay. I'm listening.
Yeah, so I was saying, people might think that people are only identifying to two things, male or female. Right now, people are identifying to so many things. I heard there's someone who is identifying as a dog and is really trying so hard to change their features into what the scientific narrative of a dog looks like or may behave. There are those who want to act like a snake. They go to the extent of even piercing their tongue, ikae kama that of a snake. So
I'm loving the fact that you were so strategic with the examples you're giving.
I have to.
Is this something personal that you want to talk to us about?
Not really personal. It's things I have seen.
Okay, what is your opinion on that?
My opinion on
Yes,
that.
we'll be on you today,
Which is okay. But I feel like everybody has their own way of identifying themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. Nowadays, people are really choosing to identify themselves for what they feel about themselves.
And you choose a common ground.
Yeah. So it's not just a matter of saying I identify as a woman or a female. People just say it because maybe they're scared of what the society might think.
Okay.
And most of these things are happening Maju. You called it Maju overseas. It's very hard to find an African who is identifying as a dog. Why? Because they're scared. Maybe kuna wale kindani identify as one.
Ask around.
Or maybe identifying as a monkey or an ape.
Okay.
Or how do you call this for aliens? You know? So it's a wide topic.
Okay.
And I think,
There's something you said, and you tried to introduce the concept of how it's different from gender identity.
Yes.
Because you see sexual identity and gender identity is something different.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a misunderstanding. Cynthia, you are nodding. You are disagreeing or agreeing with her saying?
Most of these emerging identities that are coming up, rumor has it, I'll say it's just a rumor has it that people from overseas are very lonely people. But they are very lonely, and also they're living in countries that are highly developed. And so you find that hata ukikosa your basic needs, you can literally go to the government and tell them, hey, look, I can't be able to afford this and this and that. And they'll be able to organize something for you to be able to acquire those basic needs. So you find that they are not as busy as us Africans who are seeking to make a living, you understand? So you find that there are so many narratives coming out. In fact, even recently I heard of this new narrative of there are whites who believe that because they oppressed the black people during slavery and colonialism,
Yes.
that they are going through the problems they are going through because of that, and they feel like they need to repay or they need to do what, to apologize in some sort of way. So they're even looking for blacks to be able to sort of be able to worship them in a way that they are going to feel that they have compensated the blacks.
Okay.
So such narratives are coming from the Western communities or societies because of maybe such things as they have already developed. There are not so many things they are thinking about.
Yes, yeah.
So even as we discuss, even as we go down this line of sexual identity, I think we should put that in mind at the back of our minds.
Yes.
And I feel like that begs the question of how now this whole thing develops. Because you see, it's a process. In the process of human development, there's a lot of changes that do take place. And to some point, the way you might have identified, or maybe the stage in which you identified as a female,
Yes.
is not the same to when I identified as a male.
Yes.
So I feel like there's need to also shed light on how this whole process is, in as much as it's different. Right now, we are told that for individuals that are growing up, puberty sets at an early age, and it's different in as much as the ages could be earlier compared to the initial generations.
Yes.
It's different. So when do we specifically need to know that my identity has been developed? Because you see, I think it is in psychology. You mentioned something to do with psychology when you're introducing yourself. It is Erik Erikson that had this whole concept of, development. He described the stages of development. And I think if it is not the fifth or the sixth, where he talks of adolescence, where he talks of identity crisis and something to do with that.
Isolation.
And isolation. I think most people feel like during adolescence is when their sexual identity is being developed. Do you also agree with that? During and after adolescence?
I do. I do, because that is when we become more aware of our sexual looks, sexual attraction to the people outside, and also what we are attracted to and what we are not attracted to. Yeah, that age is when we even become more aware of the opposite gender. Am I attracted to them? Do I have a crush on someone? Yeah.
I do agree. Before you go, Cynthia, I do agree, but not to 100% extent.
Okay.
You see, there's a lot of contributing factors to how sexual development happens.
Yes.
And there's one thing that I don't want to mention because it might, the internet never forgets, the type of lifestyle that people are living currently.
Yeah.
Hormonal changes do occur in as much as they haven't gotten to, adolescence.
Yes.
Right now, you could have a kid that has hormonal expressions or maybe being attracted to a gender, a certain type of gender, when they have not set to puberty. And that is because of the lifestyle. Lifestyle includes what you people eat, the type of engagements that we have on a daily basis, and these are things that contribute to your human development in general. So, in as much as you're saying it's after puberty or maybe during puberty and adolescence, we need to be keen, even prior ages. For the parents that are listening, these things do happen. And I think it is Freud. I don't want to mention names because it could be ambiguous in a way. But in the fields of psychology, when you study, there's a man that you can't go without passing through their works. And that is Sigmund Freud. He talked of these stages of development. There were 5 for him, where he talked of Electra complex and the second one, I'm forgetting, Oedipus complex. So you see, these things happen. And if you look at the ages of those kids, it's about how many years?
Around 12, 13.
12, 13.
Yeah.
And you see puberty also sets at an early age. So there's a lot of work that needs to be looked into.
Yes.
And it contributes even to the type of parenting style that I don't want to get into that conversation. Maybe you share
agree with the both of you, actually. When you're talking about this identity crisis forming during the teenagehood.
Yes.
And during the teenage age, or the adolescence age, that is when also people get to realize the childhood traumas that they went through when they were children.
Exactly.
So you find that this 10-year-old, their cognitive function has not fully developed.
True.
But when you get to 11, 12, 13 years old, their cognitive function is developed. And if they were molested when they were young, that they remember it during their teenage age, and that is where the identity crisis comes from. So I also agree with Marvin that it is really, really important that for us to be able to to bring up children who have a very stable sexual identity, we should really look into their childhood. In my practice, I have I've been able to help several people who have struggled with their sexuality. And you find that most of them, they will tell you they were either molested when they were really young by a caregiver. Others were molested by their own parents, whether their mother or their fathers. And you find that one later in life, now from adolescence moving forward, it really affects them, and they have great problems with identifying who they are sexually.
Nice. I'm loving the conversation, but I want to steer it towards how we had introduced ourselves initially. You said you're an advocate of the child and the boy child.
Yes.
I'm an advocate of mental health now. I want us to see how we're going to practicalize this whole idea, because you see the essence of this podcast is to help people see the practicality of issues that they go through on a daily basis, right?
Yes.
Cynthia, you are saying most of these issues, I do believe that there are always a psychological underpinning of most problems that people do have in a society.
Yes.
But in as much as you're going to focus on maybe the childhood experiences that people have, what do you really feel parents should now do? Speaking of which, you're going to be a parent in the near future.
Very near future.
You should have said the men.
Very near future.
Very near.
Bearing in mind that is something that is constant, right? What issue about parenting should we now have a focus on, so that at least, in as much as you're advocating for the child, so that we don't have this mess in the society?
I think definitely our children are going to fall in the Gen Alpha. And we are Gen Zs, right? So I think even as we evolve as parents, even as a child evolves, we should also seek to evolve as parents. And know that from the very word go, right now the exposure, thanks to internet, thanks to technology, is really high. And you find that whatever a 10-year-old knew back in the days, sisi watu wa 2000 and 1999.
Okay.
Back in the day, I used to believe that children are bought in the supermarket, and I believed that lie for a long time. Until I was around 6 years. But right now, a 3-year-old has seen their mom get pregnant, and he actually knows the whole process. So I feel like even as parents, even as a child evolves, we should evolve in that. We should be really ready to safeguard their exposure. Not hiding things from them, but being very open. You know, even when bringing up this child, you tell them there is this, hey, look, this is what happens when you start growing up. This is what happens if somebody touches you here and here and here, that is bad.
Exactly.
You know? As at a very early age, because I feel like we tend to ignore. We even find that molestations that have happened among us children, it's usually mostly among blended families. So maybe you have a stepdad, you know, or a stepmom. And you find that the parent wants to be in denial that their partner can actually molest the child. You know, that's where the problem starts. So we should, from the word go, ujue huyu mtoto as early as 2 years, they are very woke compared to in the older days.
I think she's bringing the concept of sexual education and sexual.
To add to that, we are people who have been raised by millennial parents. Personally, most of our parents never really gave us details. It was a matter of nisikuone na kijana, nitakupiga. It will be death. It will be war. You know. But I feel with the world in which our children are exposed at a very young age, someone the age of 1 year anajua kuoperate a tablet. At that age nilikuwa nacheza na matope. I was busy fighting other friends huko tunacheza kalongolongo.
There was no Cocomelon.
Cocomelon nimeiona sahi. There was no Cocomelon. It was kalongolongo na brikicho.
Actually I remember at our house, it was a taboo kufungulia tu hivi TV watch cartoon. My dad was so against that.
In fact I remember there were only a few episodes, a few programs tulikuwa tuna watch na wazazi. Kama si news ni vitimbi. Kama si news ni vitimbi. Right now the things kids are watching, they are exposing our kids at a very young age. So I feel
let me just stop you there. I
Okay.
don't feel like it's a blame game. The world has evolved, and we
Yeah.
have to agree. This is the world we're going to live in.
It has.
And in as much as also we are talking about evolution, our kids are going to be having it different.
Yes.
And so we need to see how we're going to live in it by that. You see, talking of, the kind of information that these people are exposed to.
Yes.
As an adult, I'm exposed to a lot of information that could be also dangerous to me.
Syllabus inaenda haraka sana.
Ndio sana.
Yeah.
Same to these people. So I think there's a need for that regulation, that kind of regulation. Because you see, there are even policies that are made by government. You've seen in the higher countries, the apps that are even being banned so
Yeah.
that people don't get access to that. Because you see,
Exactly.
that type of information, if you can't sit down with your kid as a parent and then they can get access to that type of information in the internet, then it means there's a lot that you need to do as a parent, because they might even outshine you in parenting. There are kids that know how to do parenting than
Better
even
than
their
the
parents.
parent.
And it's true.
Yeah.
So there's a lot
It's
that
very
needs to be
sad.
done, not necessarily by the parents, but by
Yeah.
everybody. I think the community and the society in general.
Yeah.
But in as much as you're always talking about the society, I don't know. You maybe help me and the listeners that are listening.
Okay.
What is this society that you're talking about? Because we are going to be talking about society here and now and again. Specifically talking about the society, where should we look into? It's a tough question.
I would like to share kidogo tu. I feel like we as a society, sisi wote, we have a share to the blame if something goes wrong, and if things go right, there's a share to the credit. I remember back then, tukiwa kwa ile podcast, Mental K podcast, I remember saying parents, the mother and the father have a responsibility to teach themselves. It could be going for conferences that are on parenting. It could be reading books on parenting, because parenting is a very critical part of life. Most of the wounds that personally I'm dealing with came from my childhood upbringing. Their childhood traumas that I'm still struggling with. And to touch on what you were talking about, I feel like the identity crisis huwa inaingia hapo around during adolescence and during this age that we are right now, because this is the time we are trying to form romantic relationships. This is the time I'm trying to look for a partner,
trying to figure it out.
this is the time I'm really trying to figure out things. That's when I realize, kumbe I have mommy issues, kumbe I have daddy issues, kumbe I have a trauma, maybe someone assaulted me sexually. So I feel like parenting is the key, the background of someone. So the society, kila mtu has a part to play in it.
There's something you talked about, generalization, like a collective responsibility when it comes to approaching some of these issues.
Exactly.
Don't you guys feel like when we generalize this, nobody's going to take accountability into it? Because you see, I might be here saying, they will do it.
You just
the parent is there, and that is how the society operates right now. When you're growing up, I believe you're told that I went to school barefooted.
Yes.
The kinds of stories that you hear from our parents. And that
stories.
when you made a mistake, it was a collective responsibility. Anybody could punish you in the society, right?
Yes.
Don't you feel like now people have said this kind of evolution that we had, people are now leaving that responsibility to the parent, those in charge. And,
teachers and parents.
Of which even teachers, they are restricted. There are policies that have been brought in schools that you can't beat somebody's kid. There's no corporal punishment that I'm not advocating for any, by the way.
Okay. But you see, Marvin, that's where the irony comes. These Gen Z parents, sorry to say, no one should shoot me for this message.
You'll be one.
The Gen Z parents are leaving all these responsibilities za kulea mtoto kwa mwalimu. And at the same time, you're not allowing me to correct your child. You want me to raise your child because whether you're ever busy, uko job, I spend most of the hours with your child, but when it comes to me correcting him or her, you don't want me to correct them.
See, they say my child should not go through what I went through.
I think we are taking all this thing of society responsibility and all that in a bit of an analog way.
Okay.
Because I feel like things like correction and discipline and punishment need even to be looked at, even in the education system.
Okay.
Because it's way off. Right now, even if you beat up a child, a Gen Alpha, hata kusikia. It will not bring out the results that you want it to bring out. So I feel like there should be some sort of revolution even in the education system itself. Because these teachers, you find that they are still using the same old ways that they used to teach us during our time. The same old ways of disciplining, the same old ways of taking care or bringing up this child. And I feel like whatever Marvin was asking us about the society, which is this part of society that is responsible. And I feel like it is anybody who has a personal or a one-on-one contact with any child who is growing up.
Exactly.
Be it a teacher,
a psychologist,
be it a psychologist, yes. Be it a parent, be it an uncle or an aunt. You understand?
Nice.
So I feel like there should be a whole new revolution, and it comes even to bringing up these children. Because the same old methods are not going to work anymore.
I think that begs in the question of parenting style. But I don't want to get into that conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Practical Minds podcast. I'm loving the conversation, actually. I'm seeing the episode is becoming as long as we can have it. I want us to have a parting shot, because you see, it's a whole topic. It's a big topic that I don't want us to, deviate the way. I want us to look into maybe giving your parting shot, so that we organize for a new episode whereby we'll be shedding more light on how this sexual education is so important. Because you see, we might be leaving the listeners to a dilemma. They don't know what to do. They've listened, they've gotten that type of information that they needed, but they don't know what to do next. So maybe we have a parting shot so that we get to prepare for a new episode that will engage them more. Yes, I'll go with the D. Yes.
Parting shot. This is what I'd say. Let's take time and invest in getting to gain knowledge on certain topics that are critical in the society, whether it's sexual education, whether it's sexual identity crisis, whether it's such issues. Let everybody take responsibility. Don't just be the typical type that will will spend more time on watching TikTok videos, and at the end of the day, you're not gaining knowledge on very serious life issues. Okay. And also, let everybody take part in making the world a better place. Let everybody take part in creating a society that is fit for everyone. If you see whatever you're doing is creating a gap or is messing up the society, take time and correct things. Because like I said, we all have a share in the blame when things go wrong in the society. Yes.
It was nice.
I feel like I'm being replaced in this season, because I don't feel like I will be holding the title for...
There's too much knowledge over here.
Yes, there's too much knowledge. And also I feel like she's becoming an ambassador of the ancestors slowly by slowly. And I feel it's good.
She's overtaking your territory.
She's overtaking my territory, but it's nice. For me, when I look at all these things, matter sexual identity, sexual orientation and all those things that we are going to be talking about in another podcast, I feel like self-awareness and self-acceptance are key to these things.
Yes.
Self-awareness and self-acceptance. The world is evolving, and even we as Africans, we have gotten to that level that we are joining the world in the evolution, in matters literally everything. But as an African society, we've just remained where we were. We want to put on a mask of, I'm an African. This is the way I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what the manual says. But behind the curtains, we're doing totally different things. And that is totally disrupting our identity and our awareness and our self-acceptance. So we will look into that in the next episode. But I feel like self-awareness and self-acceptance are key. What about you, Marvin?
I love the fact that you're introducing self-awareness. I don't know whether I'm self-aware, but I'm trying. I'm working on that. Well, from whatever you've said, all I want to tell the audience and listeners is that there's no manual to living.
Exactly.
Life has no manual. It doesn't depend on whether you're chasing the bag or whether you want to be a good parent or what, or maybe you want to be a good person in general. But life has no manual. In as much as the society has its shapes and maybe how it shapes you, you can still break the bondages. You can still be the person that you want to be, regardless. And speaking of sexuality, I'm an advocate of whoever you are. Yes, be whatever you want to be. And it's not that you don't be apologetic. Be considerate in a way. Brings in the concept of self-awareness. Because your sexuality doesn't have to be imposed on another person because you're maybe identifying as a person. Yes, just be who you are, and life will go on. That's all I have for you.
Also be kind to yourself.
True.
This is our first time in this world. We are learning new things
So
and
you're living
learning
for the first
so
time.
many things. Yeah, we are here for the first time. So I tell people to be kind. Be
That's
very
fun. We are here for
This
I know
is
you had been here before.
were you here before,
Seemingly.
Cynthia?
No.
She's an
Have you
advocate of the
reincarnated?
ancestors. She's an advocate of the ancestors, so maybe alishakuwa hapa in another
Ashikuwa
body.
hapa, si ndio?
you never know.
Yeah, so I was telling people, give yourself some grace. You're still learning. Give yourself that period to learn and unlearn so many things. Don't really. We cannot really be perfect, but we can chase excellence rather than perfection. Yeah, so be kind to yourself. Give yourself the space to learn. Make as many mistakes as you can. Yeah, and give yourself that grace to forgive yourself every other time that you feel you were wrong. One thing people don't understand, it's easier to forgive another person than it is to forgive yourself. Try forgiving yourself one day and you'll tell me. It's not that easy.
I'll forgive myself
Be
today.
kind to yourself. We're still
I
learning.
choose to forgive myself.
Yeah. So that's the message for today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was Practical Minds Podcast, Season 2, Episode 1. And my name is Marvin. This is the place where we live.
We laugh.
And we learn together.
Thank you so much for listening.
Ciao.
Ciao.
See you
Bye,
on
good
another
people.
episode.